Well, hey everyone, I'm Michael.
And I'm Patrick, and you're watching another episode of Star Wars News and Views. This will be our first video of 2020, and I guess
First
we'll,
and last, and
yeah.
only, to the forgotten year that never was.
We're recording it right at the tail end of 2020 as well, so this will be a whole reaction to the year of Star Wars that had happened, and
2020 reaction video.
yeah. So I guess we'll go over mostly what has happened this year at Star Wars, and then kind of like the biggest announcement at the end of the year was the release slate for the future of Star Wars. Uh, so I guess the beginning of the year, the first Star Wars media that we got was the Jedi Fallen Order game, and then we got Mandalorian season 2 finally this year, which I'm surprised came out of all the other shows, for the Marvel ones, they all got pushed and delayed and everything, but Mandalorian season 2 is still right on time, which was pretty lucky for us.
Well, they finished. I think they were on their final week of filming. They were in I want to say the Czech Republic or something. They were somewhere in Europe when in the middle of March when the lockdown coming, and they had to essentially evacuate, because if they didn't, they would have been stuck there who knows how long, right? Maybe another month or whatever. So they're like, no, we have to pull out now. We only have 1 week of location shooting. But the Mandalorian is known for its breakthrough visual effects process. So I guess they're like, well, we'll just have to shoot it in studio, or fake it, or rearrange. I'm not sure what they ended up doing or what episode that even was, but they were basically done. So they got by the skin of their teeth, essentially.
Which was lucky for us because we had no other shows really to look forward to this year, I feel like. But we got The Mandalorian at least.
Well, my favorite show on TV is The Expanse, and that's doing just fine, so I'm happy.
Yeah, they filmed that here in Toronto.
Yes,
I've only seen season 1 actually.
Roy Thompson Hall is the UN headquarters in the future.
Me and Will actually just watched season 1 this year, so I've only seen
so
season
you have
1.
to stick
But
with it, though.
speaking of each season getting better, season 2 of The Mandalorian I thought was way better than season 1, which I liked anyways.
Yes.
But man, season 2 had so much stuff going on in it, and each episode was really impressive to me. I felt like there was more filler in season 1, which is fine because the filler was good. It wasn't bad. There was just a lot of stuff that kind of didn't progress places. But in season 2 of The Mandalorian, I felt like pretty much every episode helped progress the plot pretty significantly.
Yeah.
Even a filler episode like getting Boba Fett's armor ended up being a huge plot point for the rest of the season, right? Which was one of the biggest first reveals, was that Boba Fett's armor survived, and also that Boba Fett survived, which they hinted at the end of that episode.
So there's something I still don't understand about that. So, in the first episode is that's the one where they have to fight the Krayt Dragon, right? Yeah, that's an amazing episode. It had the budget of a movie. They even filmed it in IMAX. Did you notice that?
I didn't know, actually. I missed
So
that.
the part at the end where they confront the Krayt Dragon, and as it comes out of the sand, you can see the aspect ratio. It's 16:9, or it's 2:3:5, and it slowly expands as it's coming out of the ground. And the rest of the episode, the third act of that episode was filmed in IMAX. So it has this larger than life scale of extra vertical space.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
that part
it
was so
started
good.
out with a bang, and it was. But so the thing I was saying is, I don't understand. So did Boba Fett go to that that marshal guy, that Western marshal, the guy that ran that shantytown there, or whatever? Because that is his armor. It's even got the dent in the helmet, right?
Yeah, it's his armor. Yeah.
Did they ever explain that in the show? Because
yeah, I think the idea was that Mando takes it, and Boba Fett probably went to him to find out who took the armor. That's how he chases down Mando.
Oh, does Mando take it? No, I thought he left it with him, because he's you're gonna need this armor, because he's already got his own armor.
Oh,
or did he?
No, didn't. No, because remember because Boba Fett confronts Mando on the planet when Grogu's doing that meditation thing, and he asks him for his armor.
Yeah, his armor. But where did Boba Fett get his armor from?
No, Mando had Boba Fett's armor.
Oh, he had it all the time since episode 1?
Yeah, didn't he? No, because that was he said. Oh, I'll trade in Grogu unless you give me my armor back. That's why he went and chased him down, was to find his armor.
Oh, so it's just it's just been sitting in the closet somewhere and never shown it? Because you never see it again.
I think
maybe I just wasn't paying much attention, because I was
Boba Fett showing up with the armor was pretty hyped though. That was one of the highlights of the season, I think, was him just showing up and like wrecking shit with his armor on
Well,
again.
I liked him better just as like this like drifter with like all these scars on his face and stuff. I thought like that's Boba Fett. See, when he put on the armor, I was talking to you about this the other day. Like Tamara Morrison, he's like 60 years old, right? So he's like kind of gained weight.
Yeah.
I don't want to make Boba Fett jokes, but like I don't know, like the fanboy in me was like, this is so cool, Boba Fett kicking ass, but I'm like, yeah, but it's like a 60-year-old like out of shape fat. Like there were some scenes where you could see he had a gut. And even when he first shows up, he's like wearing like layers of bathrobes and stuff to like hide his weight.
I don't know. So I guess like one of the other things about the Mandalorian is at the end of the season, the like post credit rule was the announcement for the Boba Fett series, which wasn't announced with the rest of the stuff that was coming out, called the Book of Boba Fett, which is coming out next year. And it's like, I feel like it's sort of going to be a continuation of The Mandalorian in some sense, because it's like the same showrunners, like Jon Favreau is going to be on it and Dave Fillion, and it's like, or Dave Filoni, sorry, and it's like going to continue like
Nathan Fillion?
Yeah, Dave Filoni. They're going to be doing the show for it, and it's like coming out just next year, so it kind of feels like it'll be kind of a continuation of Mandalorian, just now focusing on Boba Fett, who took over Jabba's palace at the end, which was pretty sick.
Although the first thing he does is he stands over top of that.
I know, that's what I said. I was like, why is he doing
idiot.
that?
You know where that leads to.
You saw this happen in real time a few years ago. Come on, man.
Because I was thinking like maybe they're gonna try and have him pull a fast one or something, but no, it just doesn't matter.
I thought actually what was gonna happen was they were gonna try it, and he was just gonna use his jetpack to float.
Yeah. So to me, what it looks like is the 2021 slate. I think they're trying, because they realized that The Mandalorian is like the most popular Star Wars thing since The Force Awakens or Rogue One, which was like now half a decade ago. By the time 2021 comes around, Rogue One, it's a half a decade old, right? Yeah. So it looks like they're trying to do like an Avengers style crossover where there's Mandalorian season 3 is coming up, and then taking place at the same time is the Ahsoka series, which is going to be a miniseries with Rosario Dawson. I think they said 6 episodes. And the Book of Boba Fett is going to be also a miniseries that takes place at the same time as Mandalorian season 3 and Ahsoka. And I think Rangers of the New Republic is also a show that overlaps. Is not necessarily tied in, but overlaps. So I think that's like their version of like Thor and Iron Man and Captain America. And then maybe season 3 of Mandalorian will be like the Avengers equivalent.
Yeah, maybe more like the like Marvel Netflix shows where it was like the Defenders at the end after each one had their own like separate series, right? Yeah. And so that was another thing that was revealed this in season 2 as well, was Ahsoka, which was like a sweet episode that was so good, and like to see Rosario Dawson, because people had like done fan art of her as Ahsoka like a while ago.
And Rosario Dawson's a great actor too. People were saying, oh, Ashley Epstein, what the girl that plays Ahsoka in the animated series. They're like, oh, it's kind of disrespectful they didn't ask her. It's like, she's a voice actress. Number one, she's not as good an actor as Rosario Dawson. No offense to her. Number two, she doesn't look it.
I had seen fan art of Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka before too. Like people were like hyping this up. I feel like maybe that's where they get some of their casting choices for some of these, because like
probably.
They've been doing that with Marvel too. Hopefully they get John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic or something because of all the fan art for him. But yeah. Speaking of which, at the end of the season as well, we see Luke Skywalker, which was like very exciting. It was I really liked that scene a lot because it reminded me of Rogue One, the scene with Darth Vader at the end, except that it was Luke doing it to a bunch of droids, just like walking menacingly in with the like hood on and just kind of tossing them around.
I didn't get that connection, but yeah, I definitely can see that. I didn't think this was my experience of that when you see the X-wing coming in on the security. For whatever reason that never clicked into me. Oh, that must be Luke. I thought it was Ahsoka, and somehow she had gotten an X-wing. Like that's not just because you have an X-wing, that doesn't mean anything, right? Yeah. And then when you see the person going around, I was like, okay, some Jedi coming to claim the Grogu. It was only there was one part like sort of towards the end of when he's hacking up the robots where you see his gloved hand, and
Yeah,
as soon
you
as
see
I
it
saw that,
earlier too.
I was like, they're not gonna bring Luke. That's not gonna be Luke. How are they gonna pull that off?
That's when I knew it was him too. I kind of guessed because like there's not really too many
I
Jedi
mean,
that
he's
travel around.
cloaked.
Like
He's got a green lightsaber, and you see the glove. I'm like, all signs point to Luke, but like, how can you think you can do that?
and then the glove, and you're like, okay, it has to be him. And
Yeah,
like
yeah,
who like they couldn't. I'd be even more upset at this point with all these small like tidbits if it was like a huge fake out at the end.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I and then yeah, the reveal that it was Luke was pretty sick. I guess like the like CGI like deep fake thing they're doing with him looked a little off. I felt like
It was
sometimes,
a
but
bit. I'm like, I could tell it was a special effect, but still, I mean, it was convincing enough that I could go with it, and especially because the voice was. I think some of it. I think it was a combination of Mark Hamill doing new lines and then them doing their best to make him sound a bit younger, and then lifting lines from outtakes from the original trilogy. It sounded like it was a combination of those.
I think he probably read his lines or whatever too when he was there. I feel like it looked good for the small scene, but I don't think they could get away with doing it for very long periods of time. Him coming back in this like manner of like a sort of I liked him attacking the droids the way that he did because it was very like slow and menacing, kind of like the original trilogy. That wasn't like as crazy like flipping around and all these things. It was like it reminded me a lot more, and that's like of all the people you do that with Luke because that's how he fought in the original trilogy too, right? Was like slow and like methodical as opposed to some of the earlier like even Ahsoka. I like how they had that even difference between them in the series because Ahsoka fought like somebody from the Clone Wars, right? She was flipping around a lot, tossing her lightsaber and everything, and Luke just kind
she has two short sabers too.
Yeah, and she learned during the Clone Wars, that's how all the Jedi were fighting back then.
Yeah, she should be in theory. She should be like 10 times the better fencer than Luke Skywalker.
I guess that like raises a few questions about like what happens to Grogu now, right? Like if they're gonna do another season of The Mandalorian, where is he?
Grogu is like the most merchandisable character since
Yeah,
like
they can't really
tried
get rid of him.
with Porgs in the Last Jedi, but it didn't really work. So like going back to like R2D2 and Chewbacca, it's like this is like the most merchandisable character.
I think BB-8 was pretty merchandisable, but that's like
okay, yeah. BB-8.
Since BB-8, this is the most merchandisable character they've made.
Yeah. So they're like whether the story calls for it or not, and the story does call for it, but so they can revisit that.
Yeah. Well, like I guess from the flashbacks in The Last Jedi, we know that the Jedi school gets like destroyed.
In like 10 years from the Mandalorian, basically.
Even longer, probably, right? Because I think like Kylo Ren would have been like 16 or something, and I don't think he's even born yet.
Or just born, yeah.
Yeah. So I saw some of the comics how they retcon that a bit. What happens with Kylo Ren? It's like he thinks Luke tries to kill him, and it's like a series of like comedic events where he like Jedi's die around him, like in Dale and Tucker versus Evil, where they just kind of like die in these like mishaps.
A series of misunderstandings.
Yeah, and they all blame Kylo Ren, and that's why he's been like said as like he killed all the Jedi, and it was like so I know it was like a comic someone throws a lightsaber and it like misses him, and it goes and kills another Jedi, and then they like turn around and it's like, oh, Kylo Ren, you did that, and it's like, no, what? This is like the whole series of events, and that's
you
how
don't
they
really
all
need
died.
to justify the paranoia, whatever.
Anyways.
I don't know. Some people are saying like, "Oh, this redeems Luke from The Last Jedi." I don't care what anyone says. The Last Jedi is a good movie. It's good.
Yeah,
The people who hate The Last Jedi have not gotten over it, and they hate it so much that they're trying to create this false narrative that everyone hated it.
So the
It's
haters
the
are
only Star Wars film that has surprised me since The Empire Strikes Back, and I didn't think that was possible.
The like hardcore fans are probably more loud. That's why you hear about them a bit more. About their hatred
and also
towards
they
it,
were
but...
like they were review dive bombing them on like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff like that. So it's like they're trying to hijack the narrative that this is like a widely disliked garbage movie.
I've heard a lot of opinions now. People once the dust is settled and the trilogy's over, everyone's kind of going back and like being like, oh, The Last Jedi was good, like compared to the Rise of Skywalker.
Have you read the aborted
yeah
the script for what Rise of Skywalker should have been, which I think it's called Duel of the Fates.
Yeah.
It's great. It reads like a sequel to The Last Jedi. It continues. Kylo Ren is irredeemable. He gets the stuff grafted to his face, and it feels like the logical conclusion. And the only thing that happened is that Carrie Fisher died, and she was kind of a prominent character. But I think they could have rewrote it to reduce or eliminate her role.
Yeah.
But basically, they're like, we don't know what to do. We're going to rely on J.J. Abrams. And he came in, and he's like, not only am I going to retcon The Last Jedi, I'm going to make the episode 8 that I always wanted. Plus, on top of that, I have to make episode 9. And that's why the first hour of Rise of Skywalker feels like boom, 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 boom. And nothing is really coherent.
I will say that the people who okay, so like reading a lot of opinions now that the dust has settled, I agree that people who are like, the reason why they don't like The Last Jedi is because it feels different than the other two movies, which it obviously does because it's a different director and everything. And I would agree that I think The Last Jedi is like the best made of the three, in my opinion. And I think that
it has the best critical reviews. I mean, people who watch movies for a living and analyze their complexity and their blah blah blah. I mean, not that we should put critics on a pedestal, but I'm like, it's not. It's worth noting that The Last Jedi is the best reviewed Star Wars film since the original trilogy.
The thing with that one is that it's like, people say it'd be nice if Rian Johnson ended up getting his trilogy anyways, because I think he would make
which is obviously not happening anymore.
Yeah.
Even though they haven't announced it.
Exactly. He would have made a good like series of movies on his own. I think like J.J. Abrams would have made his own series of 3 movies, which I don't think I would have liked necessarily altogether.
No, it would have been like his Star Trek movies it would have been a nostalgia wank fest. Yeah. And that's fine to do that, and so that's Force Awakens. Great, got out of the way.
Yeah, in the retcon too that they did in the comics, like the reason why the Jedi School gets burned down isn't the Kylo Ren. He doesn't do it on purpose. It's like Palpatine sends a lightning bolt through the universe.
Oh, come on.
He's already doing lightning bolts like storms in the sky, which is crazy.
Kylo Ren's character arc is he deliberately did it out of malice.
They're trying to retcon all of that because people, I don't know, they want to make him redeemable somehow, even though like he still doesn't feel like.
Yeah, well, because once him and Rey kissed, I mean, like that's like okay, so you're fulfilling the dreams of shippers. Yeah. But like in the original draft of Duel of the Fates, he's not redeemed. There is no kiss. Yeah. He becomes an evil guy, and he's like, oh, I wasted my life. And Luke is there to like taunt him from beyond the grave. And it's like, there's so much more interesting things. I feel like that's the type of sequel that Rian Johnson would have wanted to follow.
I feel like what they should have done was, do this like Duel of the Fates. Maybe have something about like Palpatine was the reason why Kylo Ren got subverted and became evil, but he's still the evil, and Palpatine doesn't exist. Yeah, and it's like, okay, if you want, it's like Palpatine had this thing in place to like to screw over everybody in the future, given his death, because he's a master of schemes. But like, not just bring him back from the grave BS and all this stuff. I don't know.
But the problem is that the Duel of the Fates aborted script was good, even though it was supposed to be directed by the guy that did Jurassic World, which is a terrible movie. I hate the Jurassic World series. Like, there's in my opinion, there's no redeemable qualities other than the ending of the first film. You got to see raptors and a T-Rex take down. It was like King Kong versus Godzilla.
Yeah, that was the best part of the movie for sure.
But that's like from like the stupid caveman part of my brain enjoys that.
You don't need to watch the rest of the movie to watch that one scene, which is pretty.
And you know what? That movie made over $1 billion, and I was like, how the hell did a movie that bad make so much money? And I looked at it, and there was nothing else out at the time. Yeah, but the director, he made an indie movie called Safety Not Guaranteed, which was based off a joke classified ad in the 90s. I saw it on the Jay Leno show when it was live. Someone to go back in time with me. I've only done this once before. Must bring your own weapons. And they made that into a movie. And it's actually a really good movie.
I like that movie. I like that movie.
Is it Aubrey Plaza that's in that?
Yeah, Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah, she's pretty good in it.
The script for this one's already written, though. Well, was written for Duel of the Fates. So, like, hopefully, the script is what would make it better, because maybe just the script to Jurassic World was pretty bad.
Yeah.
That being said, the rest of the Star Wars stuff that got announced right before the end of Mandalorian, Disney had this thing where they announced like all the Marvel stuff coming out. They like did a like look at the timeline for the next phase of Marvel, including the television shows and the movies, which was pretty cool because I guess before when they had a timeline made, they hadn't bought Fox yet, so now they're kind of rechanging that. And right after that, they announced a whole bunch of stuff for Star Wars as well. But for the next like foreseeable future, I'm guessing until 2024, we're only getting one movie, which is Rogue Squadron.
Yeah.
And then we're also getting some short films coming out next year called Star Wars Visions.
Which I'm very
be-
much looking forward to.
Yeah, it's going to be essentially like an animatrix sort of style of like short like
That's what it
anime
reminds me.
films.
So for those of you too young to remember what the Animatrix was,
It's great. You should check it out.
it sounds like some kind of kinky the anime. You don't know about the Animatrix. So in 1999, The Matrix came out. They're like, we're gonna make Matrix 2 and 3, and we're gonna make a comic book, and we're also gonna make this anthology series called The Animatrix, which they would take the directors of, because they were very anime influenced, so they would take the director of Ninja Scroll, the director of Ghost in the Shell, but very prominent at the time, mid to late 90s.
I think Shishiro Watanabe did one of them. He's the guy who did Cowboy Bebop. But yeah, and people who too young to remember back then, like there was only a few anime like directors and films or like series that came out that were like really
most
big.
people didn't know anime. Like in 1999, if I'm like, what's your favorite anime? People would be like, look at me like I just said something nonsensical. Yeah. Like, what's your favorite? Like, what's anime?
Or like, yeah, it was really hard to find and stuff. It wasn't popular at all. I guess anime's come a long way, but there's a lot of like bigger studios that can do it now, right? And like it'll probably look really good.
There's also a fan film that did hand drawn animation. It's like an X-wing versus TIE fighter thing, and it's done in an anime style.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a couple years old now. It's like 5 or 6 years old. But I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So Star Wars Visions, I'm looking forward to that.
They also did like this like short series of like highlights of the Star Wars universe on YouTube that Disney put out that were like animated, that were like, here's the fight between like Obi-Wan and Anakin right before Anakin like gets turned into Darth Vader, right? And it does like these like short like little bits so you get caught up on the story, and they're all like a few seconds long, but I've seen some fan-made like anime openings using them and it looks really funny. They'll use like anime intro songs from like Full Metal Alchemist or whatever, and it has all these like anime scenes of these like animated stuff. But I guess I'm just trying to say it looks pretty cool already. Like there's a lot of good stuff in Star Wars that can like that follows the anime style pretty well.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is that there's a Lando series, which is obviously no one really knows much about it. I don't think they've confirmed if Donald Glover.
Yeah, they haven't confirmed because I mean they could do like an older Lando one or a younger one. I imagine it's gonna be like.
There's no way you're gonna have 85-year-old Billy D. Williams. Like personally, like it seems to me.
Yeah, I hope Donald Glover reprises the role because I thought he did a really good job in the Han Solo movie. I thought he's also just like a charismatic person in general, so I feel like he could like hold the series pretty well.
Yeah.
That one's actually supposed to come out in 2025, so that's a while away. So that's maybe why we haven't heard anything yet.
2025?
Yeah, I just read it now. That's really far. I thought they only went to 2024.
Oh, who knows? I mean, Donald Glover could die before then.
All right.
Like, I mean, knock on wood.
Yeah. So we'll see about that one. There's also the Obi-Wan series, which we knew was kind of coming for a while, but
yeah,
like
that's the one I'm looking for. And Hayden Christensen is going to be a part of it in some way.
So that's the one thing that I'm a little bit unsure about for that one is like I kind of don't want a lot of scenes that happen after the return. What's it called? Between episode 3 and 4. I don't want like a lot of scenes between them that happen like plot wise because it felt like I hope they don't have like interactions
for it to be like a major character.
Yeah, I would want their interactions either to be in the past, like flashbacks, or things that they are aware of each other but aren't actually like in the room talking to each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I don't care what they do. That's been in the pipeline since day one.
Yeah.
Like
We heard rumors about it when we were
yeah.
doing like
So they were
early on
so
stuff.
Josh Trank, before he like almost ruined his career. I guess he's bounced back now. He was supposed to do the Obi Wan Kenobi, the Boba Fett thing. And so now, finally, it's coming to fruition. But how different would it have been if they had made the Josh Trank Boba Fett movie and it was the next Star Wars spin-off movie, a Star Wars story, as they were calling it?
I feel like they're like they have a lot safer bets with these series because like a movie you release and if it's bad, everyone's like, oh, that was bad. I don't want to go see that. Or like it doesn't do well. You waste like you don't get any money back from it, right? But if you have a series on like one of these things, it's like, oh, it's like it costs a lot of money, but it's like lower investment in that it doesn't require everybody to go see it in the opening weekend to make money. It continually makes money as time goes on, so they can be a little bit more experimental with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like for instance, they're making another show that got announced, the Andor show, which is going to be
Cassian Andor, the character that no one cares about from Rogue One.
Yeah, it's going to have like a series about his past, I guess. I don't know. I'm not.
So, based on, without having seen the show, obviously, I would say that's going to be the first show to be canceled, unless this series does him well. Like it develops him into almost like a new character. Like it develops him very well. The act, I have no idea if what's his name is a good actor or not. I've only seen him in Rogue One, and he's like serviceable as like a bland leading man.
Yeah, and he's like got this like mysterious past.
Action film.
Yeah, and he's got like a mysterious past that just makes him like cool, but they don't really get into it.
But he has no charisma.
Yeah.
Like I don't care about anything he says. I don't want to see what he does next. I don't care.
So some of the other shows that are coming out too, The Bad Batch,
which is like Clone Wars but for teenagers.
Yeah, it's just gonna be like about some of the clones near the end of Revenge of the Sith. So.
And that's fine. Like the Clone Wars is like the best thing that happened to Star Wars in the last decade, and Rebels was like, it's okay. But this is produced by Dave Filoni. I'm not sure how involved he'll be, but it's basically, taking all the adult themes that you liked about Clone Wars and like running with it. That's my take. It's like it seems like a series that is meant for like 14-year-olds.
Oh, and what's his name? The guy who did the voices of all those stormtroopers of the clones in Clone Wars is coming back to do the voices in this as well. Oh yeah, D. Bradley Baker, that's his name. He's like got the most. Yeah, he's got the most episodes because he did the voices of like. I mean, he like carried the show, right? Like he doesn't carry the show, but he's probably got like the most lines out of anybody because he's all the stormtroopers.
He probably had the most hours logged.
Or he's all the clones, right? So like, he's coming back to do the voices. I think I've heard for this one. So that'll be good.
Plus, he probably also did the video games.
Yeah. So another show that got announced was The Acolyte, which is coming out 2024. Apparently it's supposed to take place before the events of The Phantom Menace. So it's likely that it's going to be a Darth Maul prequel series.
Yeah, so that ties into the Sith Acolytes, if you're familiar with some of the EU, which I'm not the expert that you should be talking to. But anyway, I know there is such a thing as Sith Acolytes. And
yeah, and the last one I think that I can see. Oh, there was Rangers of the New Republic. I don't know if I mentioned that one. That one.
Yeah, we touched on that.
Yeah, we did. Okay. And there's gonna be a droid show, which I don't know. It seems like
I don't know much about that because when I was a kid, there was a '80s TV show called Droids, and I used to watch the reruns of that. It came on in '85, which was kind of too early for me, even though I was technically alive at that time. I was like a baby. So like in 87, 88, 89, I used to watch reruns of that. And it was just like, it was a crappy 80s sci-fi TV show that starred C-3PO and R2-D2. And Anthony Daniels actually did the voice.
Yeah, so this one's supposed to have R2-D2 and C-3PO in it. And they're supposed to be like guiding a new hero. I don't know if that means a new droid or something. I'm not quite sure yet. This one's 2024 as well. Some of these things, like I was saying earlier with Marvel, are subject to change still, I feel like. You know, it's not, this is just like what they're planning to do, but given something happens, they might change some of it, I guess.
So I think that the main thing that Disney has been doing is setting up Disney Plus. Like this is like their future. This is the future of movies. This is the future of home entertainment, and this is the future of Disney. And this might be the most important thing that Kathleen Kennedy ever does as head of Lucasfilm. At first, it was like because you're coming off the heels of Marvel, off the Avengers and Infinity War and all that stuff, and it's like let's set up the Star Wars to be the next Infinity War, Endgame type thing. And more it's becoming apparent that no, the future is streaming. So let's set up this streaming. If you can only get the next Star Wars content other than Rogue Squadron, which again, if Rogue One didn't exist, and if Rangers of the New Republic or whatever it's called didn't exist, I would be excited for that, but it kind of seems like almost unnecessary. But basically,
and it's coming in 2023, so that's like 4 years after Rise of Skywalker. Like that's how many years there's gonna be any Star Wars movies.
Remember when the Game of Thrones people were supposed to do Knights of the Old Republic? But the point is, like, I think the lasting legacy of Kathleen Kennedy will be like. So there's certain websites or YouTube pages like there's like Midnight's Edge, which is like a good YouTube channel, but also it dips into like alt-right conspiracy theories and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so they hate her, right? They're like, oh, Kathleen Kennedy is the worst person to ever grace Star Wars. Like, she's responsible for Han Solo and The Last Jedi.
Han Solo wasn't even a bad movie.
And The Force Awakens made $1 billion. Last Jedi made $1 billion. And The Mandalorian is the most rejuvenating Star Wars property that they've ever had. But she doesn't get credit for that. It's like, oh, it's Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. Yes, but
who put them in charge?
The executive producer is Kathleen Kennedy. So okay, but
she knew that like Jon Favreau had done what he had done with the Marvel Universe, and she's like, okay, well, I want to use him for Star Wars because that's a good idea, and she did, and then we get like Mandalorian. So it's not like,
and also like she gave Rian Johnson creative freedom. So if you want to credit her, like she shouldn't have done that, she should have been more controlling. Okay, so she did that on Solo because at first she gave them creative freedom and they made it into a slapstick comedy, and then she's like, nope, you have to do it by our Disney rules, and got it on track into a decent movie. And then with The Mandalorian, it's like, well, whatever you guys want to do, like, we'll support it. So like, it's people selectively blame her and selectively bury her. But it's like,
and also we don't know to what extent she worked on any of these things particularly. All we know is that she's somewhat responsible for the product of everything that's come out. In some way. And like, even if you don't like The Last Jedi and that's the reason why you're upset, that's one movie out of like a series of like good things that have happened.
And it's like, but what about Solo? It's like, Solo's fine.
People didn't dislike it; it just didn't do well.
It's not a bad movie. Maybe it's not a good movie, but it's like,
and the problem with Solo,
that's neutral.
And the thing with Solo too is like we were saying before about certain things. You know, when it came out against like Avengers and like some huge,
and also 3 months before it came out, Disney was expecting it to bomb. Like they knew it was a bomb, so that's why they didn't market it. Remember the Super Bowl trailer?
Yeah,
it was garbage.
I know. So
he didn't actually have a line. He almost had no lines in that Super Bowl trailer that they paid like $3 million for 30 seconds.
Yeah, so that's the thing about it was like, it didn't do well commercially, but there's commercial reasons why that happened, and one of them was for some reason releasing it against Deadpool 2, I think, and like an Avengers Infinity War. Yeah. So it was so like, silly. Come on. So, but the thing, like I was saying as well, is with doing these streaming services, is you don't have to worry about the release date because you're not really competing for everyone's attention on one weekend. You can just release these good products whenever you want. Yeah. So. Yeah. Hopefully that'll change with a lot of these things that are coming out. One other thing that I saw this year, by the way, that I want to mention, Star Wars related, was I saw the holiday special. I don't know if you got a chance to see that, Mike.
Oh, the Lego one?
Yeah, on Disney Plus. That was pretty good. It was quite funny, and it like even jabbed at a lot of the like things from pretty much from every era, but mostly like the newer movies as well. But it also kind of made fun of the original holiday special. Chewbacca's family comes over. It's pretty great.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely worth the watch. It's like just comedic, but it's just like It's written from somebody who definitely understands all the different Star Wars properties. I'll say that.
Right.
But it's just like a silly thing. But it's worth a watch. I feel like it didn't really get a lot of mention, but
yeah. So I guess that's all the Star Wars stuff that's coming out in the next year. One thing that's interesting is if you look at their 2021 slate in terms of what they've announced specifically for 2021, Mandalorian Season 3 is not so far included on them.
Yeah. I think they're going to hold off on it.
So, but Book of Boba Fett is coming out in 2021. So I think maybe like December, November 2021, they'll release Book of Boba Fett. And then that will tie into, like I said, the Avengers crossover equivalent in but it would be like, I guess, early 2022.
But we'll see, though. We've got some other stuff that's coming out that's exciting, too, like The Acolyte. We don't really know what it's about yet, but it seems like it could be a good story. Lando will be great if we get Donald Glover back for it, I think. And then the Obi-Wan series is, like, pretty exciting. But I agree with you, though, the movie lineup is going to be kind of... We're in the streaming world now for Star Wars, and I think that's going to be the biggest part of what's
I think
happening.
that will be, from a corporate point of view, that'll be Kathleen Kennedy's longest legacy, is that she was handed like a freaking grenade, basically. George Lucas is like a hot potato. It's like, take this. And she's like, oh my God, what do I do with this? Well, the only thing we've done is movies, so let's make 7, 8, 9. And George Lucas was like, I have scripts or treatments, outlines. And it's like, okay. And then once the dust settled, and it's like, well, that was kind of like hit and miss. What do we do now? Well, streaming is the future. So she has to set that up now and have that be self-sustaining.
Yeah, and I think what they're doing with it right now seems like a good idea because there are a bunch of miniseries, so it's kind of like just longer movies that they're telling, like in chapters,
Yeah.
which is nice. I feel like you can do a lot more with that than you could with just one movie.
All right, so happy 2021.
Hopefully
Everyone. Hopefully more of these turn out to be good than bad. I think just by sheer volume, I imagine at some point people will either be overly pessimistic or overly optimistic, like, oh my God, it's the best Star Wars ever, like this time to be alive. Or they'll be like, oh, what happened to Star Wars? It's like, well, the same thing that happened to every Star Wars.
I think the thing about this, though, is that at least we're going into it optimistically because The Mandalorian Season 1 was great and Season 2 is amazing. I think that we have high hopes going into these ones.
High standards to live up to.
But, since there's so many here, I assume most will be good, even if a few aren't great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's 2021. Do you have anything to say to 2020? We'll wrap out the door here. It's the 30th of January, or of December.
Well, Star Wars-wise, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
We got Season 2, Mandalorian. We got a good video game. I don't know. I'm
Still
happy
seems weird that we're looking at over a year since Rise of Skywalker. Can you believe that? That is actually bizarre to me.
Marvel-wise, I'm hurt because nothing.
Can you imagine if Endgame? Can you imagine if instead of 2019, Endgame was supposed to come out in 2020?
Yeah, I
and
know.
Then they were
especially
like,
because
oh my
it was.
God, what do we do?
Especially because it was
would have
like.
bankrupted Disney.
I know. Especially because it was like it was left on a cliffhanger in the last one. They couldn't announce a lot of stuff happening because you had to wait to find out what happened in Endgame. Like Marvel was on pause essentially for that time, other than they did like a flashback movie with Captain Marvel. But it was essentially on pause for like a whole year until that movie came out. And if we had to wait, like we're waiting for Black Widow for like an extra year, like Marvel would have been like, what are we gonna do? Like our whole production is on pause for an extra year now.
I guess we'll just use this opportunity to be like, hey, 2021.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It can't get much worse, right?
Okay.
All right. See you, Mike.
All right, buddy.
Bye.
See you.